You had questions, we've got answers. Welcome to our very first Ask Me Anything session. I do want to say before we jump in that I'm not a medical professional. I am a precision nutrition level 1 certified coach, so I've got a good solid background in nutrition. I've also been eating plant-based myself for about 4 years. I'm an environmental advocate, and I have a lot of knowledge around how to cook and eat plant-based in a easy and affordable way. So that's my background. That being said, some of the questions that I got do come from people who have issues that are medical, and you should refer to your doctor. Anything that you get from this video is for information purposes only. Let's jump right in. The first question that I got was from somebody who has an iron deficiency but wants to eat more plant-based. So the thing to know about iron and food is that there are 2 different types of iron. There's heme iron that comes from animal-based sources and non-heme iron that comes from plant-based sources. Now, the plant-based sources, the non-heme iron, is a little bit more difficult for your body to absorb. The good thing is if you combine the foods that you're eating that are high in iron, non-heme iron, with ones that are high in vitamin C, you'll increase absorption. So if you think of non-heme iron foods, things like oatmeal, quinoa, pasta, those are all non-heme iron sources. And they're very good sources. You want to combine those with some of your high in vitamin C foods. So those might traditionally be like your citrus fruits, or also there's other vegetables that are also high in vitamin C. So think of broccoli or cooked spinach. Those foods are also high in vitamin C. So just combine your high non-heme iron foods with foods that are high in vitamin C, and you'll increase your iron absorption. Now, I wanted to say right off the bat, I'm not a medical professional, so if this is a really big issue, you want to make sure that you consult with your medical professional. The next question that I got was from somebody who is transitioning to a vegetarian and possibly vegan diet and is worried about getting enough protein. Now, this person was also concerned about actually how much protein they need, which is somewhat confusing because you'll see data that ranges anywhere from 0.8 to up to as high as 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body fat. Now, it really depends on the amount of exercise that you get and your gender, but I will include a couple of links below so that you can access some of the various thoughts on the topic. Now, when it comes to getting enough protein in a vegetarian or vegan diet, or mostly plant-based diet, the thing that you want to think about is you got to stop thinking about protein as that like big piece of meat on your plate. So that one thing that delivers the protein. Protein is in almost everything that we eat. So when you look at your plate, yes, there are some things that are going to be higher in protein. And when you're eating a vegetarian or vegan diet, you might have a big piece of tofu or some tofu squares. But you probably also have some other foods. You might have broccoli or cooked spinach, some kale, maybe some pasta. All of those things also contain protein. So think about the entire meal that you have in front of you before you judge how much protein that you've got sitting in front of you. And remember that your body is an incredibly efficient thing. So your body is constantly adapting to what your individual requirements are, which is why there is such a variety into what people need. So, make sure that you're tracking when you first start doing that transition, make sure that you're tracking how you feel. So keep a food diary and track how you're feeling and how your energy levels are, and that's going to help you land on what the exact right amount is for you. Now, this particular person also was diabetic, and I just want to mention that I am not qualified to be able to advise you on that particular condition. So while you should absolutely, listen to the advice that I'm giving, and I will provide the links below to the data that supports it, you need to talk to your doctor when it comes to diabetes or other health conditions that I'm certainly not qualified as not a medical doctor, to give advice on. But the bottom line is, it is not difficult to meet your protein requirements on a plant-based diet. Yes, as you start transitioning to plant-based, it's a good idea to keep track of it. Make sure that you've got lots of whole food plant-based ingredients in your meals and on your plate. But if you do, you'll have those beans, you'll have tempeh, tofu, peas. All of those items are really high in protein, and you'll have no trouble. And it'll be delicious and a lot less expensive to start eating more vegetarian and plant-based. Thanks for the question. This next question is one of my favorites. It's from somebody who's worried about the cost associated with eating more plant-based. So the questioner was wondering about those meat-based alternatives that you'll see in the grocery store, and they do seem to be more expensive than their meat-based counterparts. So if you think of like Beyond Meat or Impossible Burger, yes, some of them still are a little bit more expensive. There is work being done to bring down the price of those things and to produce them at scale, but right now sometimes they are more expensive. I mean, if you are buying grass-fed beef, it's probably less expensive to buy a Beyond Meat burger, but that's besides the point. The point is that you actually shouldn't be looking at those types of proteins as your protein source on a plant-based diet. They are absolutely great as quick, convenient alternatives when you are short on time or when you're looking for something in a pinch. But really, a plant-based diet is going to focus more on your whole food plant-based proteins. Things like tofu, tempeh, chickpeas, beans, legumes, lentils, all sorts of things like that are going to be the places that you're going to be getting your protein on a plant-based diet. So those items are actually a lot less expensive than you're going to be paying for beef, lamb, chicken, or pork. And you know, if you pick up a can of chickpeas, that's going to cost about $1.99. You might need 2 to feed your family of 4. It's going to cost you a lot less than a steak or even ground beef, which we know is a little bit less expensive. So do not worry. You can actually have a lot more of an affordable meal on a plant-based diet than you can on a meat-based diet. This next question came from somebody who is interested in the difference between the climate impact of the various meats. So it's super interesting because yes, everybody thinks that when we are talking about lowering the climate impact of what you're eating, we're talking about plant-based proteins, which a lot of the times we are. But the good thing to know is that you can still make a huge difference just by switching the type of meat-based proteins you're eating. So the hierarchy goes, beef is the worst, and then lamb, then pork, then chicken of the popular meats. And beef isn't just a little bit worse. Beef is really, really the worst. So it is got a huge carbon footprint. So if you're going to make any big switch, just switching from, say, a beef burger to a pork burger or a chicken burger, and you are really slashing your carbon footprint. Now, if you can do instead a lentil burger, I mean, that's huge. The important thing to note is that there is a hierarchy in terms of climate impact in food. Cheese and dairy farming is also pretty intensive, and it's up there with somewhere between beef and lamb. So you want to watch your cheese intake as well. But that's the hierarchy, and yes, just making small changes can make a huge difference. Thank you so much for all your questions for our first Ask Me Anything session. We will be doing this again, so if you have any questions and they weren't asked in this session, please just drop them in the comment and we'll get to them next time.